is affecting your day-to-day life, then it's time, in my opinion anyway. I'm just Tricky, welcome back to my channel, and let's talk about when is it the right time to get a medical device. So obviously when it comes down to a medical device, it has to be decided by a surgeon or a doctor or a specialist doctor. For example, with flow, so my suprapubic catheter, it was decided by a urologist to begin with, and then a neurosurgeon. But when is it the right time for you? So I always say that this is a complete journey, and even when you feel like you have kind of come to terms with a medical device, it sneaks back up on you. Like, it's a journey that you will have your entire life. It's not something that you just get over. At the end of the day, it's a change to your body that more than likely will be permanent, and that can be hard to deal with. So sometimes it can be really hard to kind of accept that you need one. So at what point do you accept it? So for me, I would say the point of acceptance is when your quality of life is severely impacted by whatever it is, whether that is retention or issues with your bowel, etc. If it is affecting your day-to-day life, then it's time, in my opinion anyway. I always find that even when you know you need it, it can be very difficult to accept the fact that you need a medical device, and sometimes we put ourselves through unnecessary suffering before we fully let that sink in. Obviously I have one medical device. I've had Flow for over 2 years, so when it comes to my acceptance of Flow, my suprapubic catheter, I'm obviously at step 20, if you want to call it that. Whereas someone who's newly going in, or just being told that they've got a chance of having a suprapubic catheter in the future, they're at step 1. Like, it takes time. There is so many different steps. So someone at step 1 is nowhere near the same step as someone at step 20, if that makes sense. So you guys actually missed out on that whole acceptance journey with Flow, because I already had her for nearly 2 years when I started this channel. However, I have recently been told that I will be having a loop ileostomy within the next 6 to 9 months, so you guys can come on that journey with me if you want. Because I'm at step 1 for that. Regardless of the fact it's an ostomy, it makes no difference to the fact that it's still a process of acceptance. There is a lot of grief involved. You're grieving for your body, which some people might seem weird, but I know the people watching this who are going through it will know exactly what I mean. It isn't easy to grieve yourself. My biggest bit of advice as someone who has gone through this once already is let yourself grieve. That is so important. Don't hold back the tears. You don't have to be strong. Like, no. In fact, I found when I did grieve the loss of my bladder, or lesser function of my bladder, I found that actually it helped me so much with my journey to acceptance with Flow, because I had already done a lot of that grieving process. So when it came down to it, I was kind of ready in a sense, but not ready, because it is, you can have all the acceptance in the world and you'll get to op day and you might be like, this is really sad, because it is sad, it's allowed to be sad. But like, having already grieved the loss of an organ, which it is literally that you will potentially have this medical device for the rest of your life. So it is really, really important to get all the negative shit out of the way. It's so important, because the last thing you want is to start negative. So for example, with my bowel, it has been a very, very long, horrendous, negative journey, with a lot of medical negligence and a lot of trauma, and it's just been bad, that's for sure. However, I don't want to see my ileostomy as bad. It's something that is not what I want, but it will save my life, if that makes sense. It gives me that opportunity to not just survive but live. I always say that I want to live amongst surviving, because that is how we have to live. When you have several chronic illnesses, you do have to live amongst surviving, otherwise we just survive 24/7, you know. And I get that people who don't have illnesses or don't have life impacting illnesses or long-term illnesses don't get that, like, that is a thing. So we survive day to day, but we very rarely get to live our lives. So see it this way: your medical device is not a prison, it is a whole new lease on life. It is a chance for you to have a new start with a body that is able to function better. Yes, there's going to be issues with it. Yes, there's going to be things that happen. But see it this way: you could go to a nightclub, drink, you wake up the next day and you can have a hangover. That is a consequence of living, you know, or a side effect if you want to see it that way. Everything has pros and cons, absolutely everything in life. So you have to almost train your brain to see your medical device as a more positive thing than negative. You have days that it's almost like, oh, I don't want to do this, just like you probably have days now where it's so hard to live and it's affecting your quality of life. So for me, especially with flow, it was horrendous. Like, I couldn't even sleep. I was voiding 24/7. It just wasn't going very well for me. I definitely was not living amongst surviving. I wasn't able to. I would fully dehydrate myself to be able to go anywhere. I would never ever went anywhere and thought, oh, I'm going to have fun, or I get to do this. My main thing is, where was the toilet? Which, that's no way to live. And now I don't have to do that at all. So I love my SBC. I think I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I love flow, and I can only hope that my journey with my ileostomy is just as positive. We will see. Again, I'm very much in the acceptance phase and the grief phase right now, so it'd be interesting to see how I feel in months' time, because right now it's very much, I'm sad, and you're totally allowed to be sad. At the end of the day, it's huge, whether it's a small lump or not. Any medical device is huge. Any change to your daily life is huge. My main bit of advice for those who are newly fitted with a medical device is, 1, name it. Sounds silly, but do. There's actually studies out there that show that it does make a positive relationship with your medical device, and I would say for me it definitely did. I would say though to make sure you name it with something that you relate as positive. So if you see carrots as funny or positive, name it carrot. Like, if you see roses as something that when you see them you smile, name it rose. Like, but don't ever name it something that you see as negative, because it won't work. My other bit of advice for those who are waiting is to get everything ready. It can be a bit tricky to begin with to get everything ready, but like, for example, your medical storage, get it ready. Even if it's empty drawers, it's there, it's ready. Make sure your bed's made before you come home. Silly things like that will really help you. So for me, I like to see things that if I catch them in a moment, even if it's for a second, they cheer me up. So for example, if I've got some flowers in a vase and I catch them for a second and I think, oh, they're pretty, for that second you are happy. Your mind is taken off of anything and everything, even if it is just a second. I also like to have, like, so I'll treat myself to like new pyjamas, so when I put them on, they're comfy, they're new pyjamas, it's a new beginning. Like, it sounds silly, but it works, so definitely try that. The other thing that can be really helpful with a medical device is to get your supply accessories For example, I have a backpack that I put flow in, so having that backpack was very handy. Another thing would be, for example, if you've got a NG or NJ tube, my best friend, she uses tubey tape and she finds that cheers her up a little bit. Little things like that, get a little stash of them, so then when you come home you can kind of incorporate it in your day-to-day life, because that is the main thing. That is the thing that gets me through with a medical device, and I get asked all the time, how are you happy? Like, how do you kind of have that acceptance? Firstly, time is the biggest bit of acceptance. Secondly, a lot of patience, because you will try 101 different catheters, different bags, different feeds. Whatever your medical device is, there's a journey that you have to find the right supplies for you, which can be really tedious, but once you've got it, you're fine. So like for me, for example, with Link catheter, I think it was the 4th catheter that I tried, and I've been using them for a good 1.5 years now, and I have not changed because they work for me. So when you do find something, don't go on to something else because it works for someone else. If it works for you, stick with it. If you've got a couple of issues with it, maybe try something else, because you never know. But if for the majority of it helps you, stick with it. And the main thing also with acceptance is it has to fit in your day-to-day life. If it takes you 6 hours to do something because of your catheter, I can assure you doing that every day will really piss you off. However, if it takes you like 10 minutes to do a quick wash out and you don't have to do it for another couple of days, and you kind of get on this schedule, it just becomes a normal thing to do. Just like brushing your teeth, just like going to the toilet if you can, or letting dogs out for the toilet. Like, it becomes a routine and normal, because our normal, if normal even exists, changes 24/7. So with your medical device, it has to fit into your life, just like it has to fit into your job if you have one. It has to fit into being. It can be a bit tricky to begin with, but I can assure you after a while it becomes a lot easier. I think the other questions I get when it comes to a medical device is, did I give up too soon? Should I have tried harder? Or how do I know for sure that I won't regret it? You won't. That's my answer. No one knows. Like, at the end of the day, there is always going to be a part of you that thinks, oh, maybe I should just wait a couple more months. But I can assure you, when you're going through the worst of whatever your thing is, whether that be gastroparesis and you can't keep anything down, or retention and you're having to go to A&E 24/7 for them to quick cath you, or dealing with urethral catheters, or with your bowel, if you're going through 101 different things and you're ending up in hospital 24/7 for manual evacuation. Trust me, having that thing on your body, that, yes, is a massive adjustment, will make your life better, in the sense that you might not have to go to A&E 7 days a week. You may only have to go 1, or you might not have to deal with the trauma of being catheterized 24/7, and then you switch out that catheterization for a tube change once a month or every 10 weeks, because everyone is different. Like I said earlier, there's pros and cons to absolutely everything in life, and a medical device is no objection to that, you know. Like, there's still got cons to it, and yes, it's a huge change to your body, but ask yourself this and be 100% honest. Are you happy right now? Like, are you able to live right now? Could you do that forever? Or is it affecting your mental health? Do you find yourself low? Do you find yourself isolating yourself because you feel like you can't do something because of whatever you're going through right now? Are you happy? Like, that is the main thing, because I'm sorry, life is so short. Like, to just suffer for the sake of not having a medical device is not good enough reason, not to me anyway. Yes, it is something that you have to think long and hard about, It's not something they're just like, eh, fuck it, we'll have one. Like, it's not like that. And I'm sure all the other people out there who have become desperate souls, because at the end of the day, life fucking sucks when you're ill. You have to prioritise your happiness, whether that means you end up with a catheter for the rest of your life or not. I can't answer your question for you when it's right for you to decide that you need a medical device. My biggest bit of advice would be, listen to what I just said. If you're not happy, if you're not living amongst surviving, if it's severely affecting not only your physical health but your mental health, if it's isolating you, if life fucking sucks the way it is right now, then it's time to start thinking, my doctors are right, or my doctors are wrong, because you know that happens as well. And if they are wrong, get a second opinion. Explain the effect it's having on your quality of life, because believe it or not, that's actually really important. Who wants to just survive and be unhappy? No one. Absolutely. Guys who's going through like that grieving process right now, I am there with you. I am feeling it. It's heavy, but know that you are not alone. There are thousands of people also going through this, just no one talks about it, and that's the bit that needs to change. You should be able to talk about this without being accused of Munchausen's, or being told that you're trying to get sympathy online, or ooh, she just wants a medical device to get like PIP. Trust me, you won't get PIP for a medical device, but it's not that easy. No one in their right mind wants a medical device, but nobody also wants to be living hell, because who wants to live that? Absolutely nobody. So yeah, just remember, you are worthy, you are still attractive, you are still desirable, you can still live, your life is definitely not over. In fact, you need to start looking at it like, this could potentially be a whole new beginning to my life. This could change my life for the better, not, oh, I'm lumbered with this medical shit and my life's over, because it's not. Your life is definitely not over. I've gone kayaking with Flo, you know, I've been to Florida, I've got on a plane. Your life is definitely not over. It's just changed, you know, and change is very scary, but sometimes it's ridiculously necessary, and change can be good. So just remember, you can live amongst surviving, and sometimes you need a medical device to do that. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, could you please like and subscribe, because it does help me a lot, and it makes me realise that this is something that people actually want to watch. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I do reply to all comments, so I'll definitely reply to you. And remember, as always, think awareness, not attention. Isn't easy to grieve yourself. Just